Now, individual spending trends have increased again, but retail business sales trends continue to decline. These according to the ICEA Consumer Price Index Q2 2024 report. Now, according to the report, income trends have worsened slightly, with 50% of respondents indicating static income levels over the last year, 30% reporting lower income, and less than 20% saw their incomes rise in the second quarter of 2024 compared to the same period in 2023. The ILM Consumer Spending Index rose by 5.5% in the second quarter of 2024, driven by a rise in individual spending that offsets static retail business sales trends, with 87% of respondents making purchases using their own income, while 13% relied on credit.
All right, the ICA Lion Consumer Spending Index has just been launched, and the Consumer Spending Index rose by 5.5% to 20 points in Q2 of 2024, with 50% of the respondents saying that they noted an increased static income. They noted they indicated static income between Q2 2023 and Q2 2024. 20% reported lower income, and less than 20% reported increased incomes. Individual spending trends in Q2 2024 improved compared to other quarters of the year, and this was mainly driven by women and people aged between the ages of 25 and 65. And this increase in spending attributed to the higher cost of items purchased. Similarly, house fittings and accessories noted a slump in sales, with clothing, retail shopping, as well as food and vegetable items noting a bit of an increase in terms of spending. So joining me right now is the ICA Head of Research, Mr. Jad Miregi, to put these numbers into context for us. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And please give us further context on what these numbers mean for the normal Mwananchi and even the state of the economy.
Thank you very much for having me. So these numbers, which are based on research carried out by ICA Lion Asset Management, which is a subsidiary of ICA Lion Group, basically tries to give an on-the-ground feel to how the real economy is doing. So we try to measure, as opposed to just looking at headline GDP growth numbers, we try to look at the person on the ground, how are they spending, how is their income, and for the retail businesses, how are their sales. So it tries to give a real-world aspect to GDP growth. And I think what we are seeing here is what has surprised us since we began this consumer spending index late last year, is that individual spending has remained relatively resilient. And even when it comes to retail business sales, while they have slowed down and stagnated, it seems to be more resilient than what the common perception is out there. That's, I think, one of the big findings that has come out of these quarterly surveys. Yeah.
There's this thing that people like to say that despite having an increase in the GDP, the impact is not being felt on the ground. Please explain that disconnect for us.
Yes. Again, that's the reason why we started the ILM Consumer Spending Index. So what we realize is we think what drives the real economy is consumer spending. So we've demonstrated that based on the economic survey, consumer spending accounts for 75% of our economy. So if consumers they're not feeling the money in their pocket, they're feeling the pinch, and therefore they don't feel that the headline GDP growth is being reflected in their pockets. That's what that boils down to.
Okay, there has been a very interesting statistic that it is the women who are driving consumer spending and people aged 25 to 65. Speak on that. Give us further context on that and maybe why you think that is the case.
Yes. First clarification, the people who are driving the spending are 26 to 35. Not 26 to 65. I think in addition with the women also driving the spending, I think these are subsegments of the economy that have a tendency to spend more on even non-discretionary items. So it's a function of gender and youth being more having a tendency to spend more on non-discretionary items. I think that's what it boils down to.
And also, we've noticed that people will tend to spend a bit less in terms of luxury items, and it also a bit more on essential items. Please give us just slightly further context on the same.
Yes, I think it's a function of what we've seen is that the majority of respondents are actually having stagnant or declining income over the last 12 months. And in a situation whereby you have high inflation as well, then you find that there's less consumer disposable income as a result of the higher taxes as well. This means that there's less flexibility to spend on non-essentials. And with the cost of essentials having gone up for the large part of last year, as opposed to this year where you've actually seen the cost of a lot of essentials in food and fuel coming down. It means that compared to last year, you'll probably find that the levels of spending on non-discretionary items remains the same, because much as we've had lower inflation this year, we've also had a higher tax environment. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
All right, now let's head into the woods. Let's talk trees. Now,